Today, it's getting a black algae infestation out of my pool. Now, I am absolutely sick and tired of these dudes on YouTube showing a black algae infestation. It's like a couple of little dots. Yeah. Can you see the extent of the black algae? It's fully 50% of the pool. If you were to watch the other folks, it's like, oh yeah, you know, super chlorinated, rub half of a chlorine tablet on it for little dots of black maybe, but when you got something like that, you need something like a power washer. That's what I'm going to do. You know, putting hose down the walls and with the pressure washer to get out the black algae. Step by step, let me take you through all the ugliness of getting this pool back in good shape. It's all over my equipment. I'm going to have to pull that little filter out. I'm going to have to clean this thing out. So we'll get through it as quickly as we can. First thing I have to do is pull this Multi-Cyclone 50 filter. We got to get all of the black algae out of all the components. Just get a big old hunk of wood. I got a nice 4x4 here. Give it a good whack. Let's see if, yeah, I can't do it with one hand, but don't use a hammer because you could break it. But just use wood, something that's got some give to it, and you will be able to get this thing off. It's actually coming off now. That's a huge success in this project so far. Those are my filters. And a lot of people say when you have a mold infestation, don't just clean it with a pressure washer like I'm about to do. Just replace them. I think these are, what, $90 each? Yeah, that's not going to happen. So I'm going to give it a shot and then keep on it and see if I can't keep the black mold down. I mean, I know how I got it this way. I just won't let it take over again. You can use this 1500 psi pressure washer underwater, but you know, it's about the size of a pencil is how it cleans. Draining it, I should be able to get a much wider swath as I go and hose down the walls and with the pressure washer. I am going to drain the pool entirely. That's why I didn't mind letting it turn green. So I got these trees right above my pool. I've actually had pool professionals. They just gave up on this pool. So I have to do it myself. So I'm going to drain it. I've invested in a little 1/2 horsepower pump, submersible. Okay, here we go. We've got pressure there. I wish we didn't have such a tight angle there. And I rigged this up with that connection there. Very improvised. According to this should take about 4 or 5 hours. Here in Arizona, they've gone back and forth about whether you're allowed to drain to the street or not. So they do allow people to drain to the street. You gotta ask for permission first, but they always grant it. Over there, that's the 1500 psi pressure washer. I've done a little test here. Those 8 tiles there, 10 tiles, on the left, after I've pressure washed it to knock off the heads of the black algae, for just half of it, I've then scrubbed it with a little trichlor tablet. And this is the thing you hear people saying all the time. The old timers say, yeah, just get one of these trichlor tabs, you know, rub it up against it, and that'll knock it out in about 20 minutes. Let's see if this actually worked. This is the part I treated with the trichlor, and that right there is the part I didn't treat with the trichlor. And I think we got a winner here. We knock back the black algae, we get the caps of it off with this 1500 psi pressure washer, but then we scorch the hell out of it with this trichlor, and without its little protective slimy coating, it just shrivels up and dies, and that is wonderful to see. They say it buries down into the concrete. It may come back, but I'm going to see how far I can knock it back, and I'll update in the comments where we are, say, 6 months from now and a year from now. So I'm down to the last 7 or 8 inches of water. I had to redo my setup here, put the pump straight in the middle, right up against the main drain. I'm not going anywhere near that in that water when this is plugged in. I don't want to risk my life to some short circuit in a $60 sump pump. So I suggest you do the same. This wouldn't be much of a video if I didn't show you how the actual pressure washer worked. It does a good job doing this stuff in swaths. As you notice, I'm just doing little sections so that I can then scrape the trichlor tablet on top of it, then go to the next one without washing off the trichlor. Given each one about at least a half an hour to sit there and burn into the algae and kill it. before I do the one next to it. But here's how the thing goes. Let's see if I can do this without ruining my phone. Isn't this absolutely fascinating? All the way over here, that is the black algae untouched. This is the black algae after just going down very, very quickly in, like, 2-inch strips. This, I can get it about the thickness of, maybe a ½ an inch. Strip the caps off of the algae and it turns from black to green, which is fascinating. This, by the way, the 2-inch strips that come off easily, that's the funnest thing you're ever going to do in your life, to watch that stuff come off there. This is almost as much fun, but it's a little bit of work. Now, this little strip of white here, that's where I've gone over it with trichlor. And I only did that like about 5 minutes ago. Watch what happens when I clear it off. Look at that. You can see the little suckers screaming in pain. Those things are dead. Dead as a door now. Wow. That is so cool. So I think the big question most people would want to know is, how long is all this taking? I've worked about 3 hours on it today, and I'm about maybe a third to a half done. It just hit around 107 here in Phoenix area. So I'm going to have to just give it about an hour at a time. Otherwise, I'm going to pass out here. Probably about 8 hours altogether with the pressure washer. If you've ever tried scraping it with a metal brush or putty knife or something, you'll know it's 10 times easier than that. So, I don't know. Paying somebody to do this, that's just not for me. Here's the end result so far. I still haven't added the quadruple shock. I need to add some calcium hypochlorite. I did not get a chance in the spa to go over the black algae down there. It just couldn't drain it all the way. So that's something I'm going to have to attack with the metal brush and then hit it with the shock. So, and it looks like by putting in 3 hoses, I was able to get this to fill up in about 12 hours. Just picked up 4 pounds of cyuranic acid, chlorine stabilizer. That's what the manufacturer recommends for my pool size. That'll raise it to 30 parts per million. So since I essentially emptied and refilled the pool, I got to start over again. This now is the big reveal for me. I had to go out of town for 2 days, and I'm seeing this up close for the first time, and it looks like it worked. I do not see any infestations of black algae except over there, and that black algae is less than it has been in 22 years. That black algae has been there forever. It must be deep inside the plaster. Don't understand. Now over there, that's the section of black algae that I was never really able to get with the pressure washer. It still exists, and it will reinfest the entire pool if I allow it to continue. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that with a metal brush and then superchlorinate it again. That's basically the the rinse repeat approach. Is you superchlorinate it after you've knocked the tops off the black algae, and then if that doesn't do it, you do it again. You just keep knocking off the tops of the black algae and superchlorinating it. So I superchlorinated it 4 times the normal level. The second time I'm going to do it twice the normal level. Before I do any of that though, I'm going to double check to see what the pH and the CYA level is, make sure it's within specs. It's the next day. I superchlorinated the pool again. Yeah, I'm really happy with the results. There's a couple of stubborn black algae spots that I'm going to hit again, and then probably super chlorinate it tonight one last time, and then just do the regular chlorine regimen. So yeah. Now, how much did all this cost? $50 on a $90 pressure washer. This is a pressure washer. I got it at an auction, so that's why I got it for about half price. $30 on some pool shock, chlorine stabilizer. That was about another $25. Had to empty and then refill my pool, and that cost me here in Arizona about $100. A $54 pump. I did that years ago. I hate all this do-it-yourself crap. The only thing I hate more is spending money, so here we are. Here it is 6 weeks later. And aside from some leaves that haven't been gotten by the little automatic cleaner yet, everything's blue. I have not seen anything come back in terms of algae. Now the parts that I was not able to get up, the part right in the middle there that you can see, that's not getting any bigger, and I keep attacking that. I think that may just be a stain at this point. Be very careful when you're working with chlorine in an enclosed space. The chlorine gas will do some bad things to your respiratory system. So my throat was a little bit rough for a couple of days after doing all this. So be careful with that. It was probably not a good idea. Me not giving myself better clearance or bringing down an electric fan or something. So that's all it took. 2 of the worst days of my life. About a total of 8 hours getting that stuff off the walls. Good luck with your black algae infestation.